Okay, we are live now. Hi Rajiv.
Hi, Shalini.
I'm going to start speaking after about 2 minutes because it's always nice to kind of go live and then wait for all our friends and all your fan following to join before I introduce the show.
I'm sure we can segregate that into two parts. My friends will be signing in. The fan following part is more applicable to you, Shaz.
That's why I wanted you on the show because I love you so much. You always say such amazing things and make everybody feel so important. That's the best part about you. I can see a few people coming on now that I've gone live, so I think maybe it's time. A very good evening to all of you on ShaliniSays WineShineQuarantine. I know you want to say it's pronounced quarantine, but then it doesn't rhyme, so I have to say quarantine. And today is a very, very special show for me because I have one of my favorites on the show, a man whose career I've been following for over 2 decades now because he was one of my first clients, and I've been watching his exciting adventure. Because I hate to call it a journey because he's just not that kind of a guy who would call anything a journey. He's going to actually enthrall you with his charm, wit, and he's got the best sense of humor. So you guys gonna love him on the show. And I know there's a lot of people who've messaged me personally saying that we are signing in and logging in today to hear this session. So before I talk about who Rajiv Ahuja is, I would like to welcome Rajiv on the show. Rajiv, thank you so much for joining me today.
Shalini, I'm the one who should be thanking you because as a father, you know you've arrived the day your kids ask you for your autograph. And when I told them Shalini is going to be hosting me live on Facebook, I had all three of them pinging me, asking me if I could sign a piece of paper and give it to them. So thank you for hosting me.
Special is that? That's so special. See, like I told you, this is who he is, and we are so lucky to have him with us today and share some great experiences which he's had through his adventure. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce Rajiv Ahuja formally. And even though I have known him forever and followed his adventure, I still have to read it out. So bear with me while I read this one out. Rajiv Ahuja is the president of Startek, is a multifaceted leader with over 2 decades of experience in business process services and a proven track record of taking customer-centric service organizations to the next level. Who would doubt that? Prior to joining Startek, Rajiv was the SVP and Country Manager India, China, Malaysia, and Japan at Convergys. Prior to Convergys, Rajiv was associated with Aegis for 12 years in various leadership roles. Most recent was their president, ASEAN and ANC. He played a stellar role in building and managing the Philippines operations when Aegis acquired People Support in Philippines. Earlier, Rajiv headed AOL's captive center in Bangalore, headed Dell's US Consumer Care Division in India, and served as the India COO of the We Customer, a large third-party BPO. Rajiv earned an honors degree in commerce from St. Xavier's College in Kolkata and a certificate in international management from Stanford University and National University of Singapore. In his free time, which I know I don't have to read, Rajiv loves playing golf, bridge, and poker. See, there was something I didn't have to read, and I knew it. Rajiv, my God, are you serious? Is this all about you, or are you talking about 3-4 people in the team?
No, you use the term Rajiv has worked here, Rajiv has worked there. Well, the jury is still out between you and I whether I worked or no, but yeah, I was present in these companies.
Ah, how awesome is that? Rajiv, before I start with the questions, I also want you to share with the viewers something about Startek and what Startek does.
Sure. So Startek is an American company. We are listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker SRT. We are a full services customer life cycle management company with a presence across 13 geographies, 49 different sites, and about 45,000 people, depending on the time of the day that you take the head count. But it's broadly in the region of about 45,000 people. So we have a large presence in India. We have a large presence in Asia, large presence in the US, LATAM. So we pretty much cover all continents and all geographies.
Wow, amazing. Rajiv, since I've given this amazing profile of yours and everybody knows who you are, my first question is Rajiv Ahuja, the leader and the art of leadership.
All right. So if you punch leadership into Google, and you carry out a search, you'll probably get something like what, 8 to 10 million different hits, and the definitions are so varied and so vast. In my opinion, let's start with his leadership. Firstly, is it an art or is it a science? And I think at first it starts off by being a science because science follows certain definitions, certain ground rules, some certain data, there's logic to it. And then over a matter of time, when it becomes an unconscious strength of yours, it turns into an art because then you rely more on gut and instinct, which comes as the years go by, as you keep gathering more and more experience. So Rajiv as a leader is, I think, a combination of a number of things. I mean, right since the time I started assimilating things, I started viewing things, I started understanding things. I would see an individual who I thought would speak very well. So I picked that as a building block and I placed it on the side. Then I saw somebody who carried himself very well. And then I picked that as a building block and I put it on top of this. So slowly, gradually, like that, I've evolved over the years. And but I would still largely credit my tenure in the army for a large part of the leadership part of who I am. I know there are different parts of me, and we'll talk about that as we go along in this conversation. But Rajiv as a leader, I think is one of the most likable personalities. I'm hoping my team is signed in and they give a thumbs up to this. If they don't, just remind me, Shals, give me their names. I'll fire them after this conversation.
Well said, Raju. It's funny. My next question was going to be that is leadership an art or a science? But you're clearly such a smart leader that you already picked that up, and you answered that question. It takes me back to those days when you actually used to be in the training business, which is when I met you and which is when you were my client. And clearly, at that point in time, you were teaching the art of leadership without being the person in the corporate world that you are today. And who would have known that you would have applied it all to yourself and said, let me show you how. So you clearly lead by example, which is absolutely amazing about you. And also going along, Rajiv, I know that, and you've always had that back as a leader on my back. You've always said, you have to, you must, and motivated and inspired me for so many years of my life. So I have to talk to you about gender equality, which I know that you believe in equal opportunity for women and men. So I want you to share with us what is it that you do, especially in this field, in this story.
So let's take the last decade or so. I think there's been a huge paradigm shift. That proverbial glass ceiling that most women found extremely difficult to penetrate, I think, has broken. And you've got the Indra Nuis of the world, the Ginny Romneys of the world. You've got Sheryl Sandberg. You've got a number of such examples. Mary Barra, who heads General Motors, right? She's the CEO today. I think the corporate sector, the corporate world, has now reached a stage where they have realized that they have to, when they select candidates for certain roles, they have to be led by competence,
Yeah.
not by caste, color, creed, the passport you hold, or the gender for that matter. And it's so heartening to see that more and more corporates are embracing it. In India, there was a rule passed very recently that all boards should have representation, women on the boards. I think that's a great step in the right direction. Specifically, so in our organization, I'm a absolute believer that there must be diversity, and diversity, of course, has a number of different facets to it. But right for the moment, for the purpose of this conversation, we'll just stick to the gender equality part of it. Uh, I'm very clear. Competency, of course, will be the first need, but everything else being equal, HR knows that they have to pick a woman candidate, and I hate saying this on a public forum because I know I might get trolled for this statement, but trust me, uh, women come with far greater EQ than men. Women tend to play much a fraction of the politics that a number of the men play. And again, this is just the way men are wired. But I think bringing about more diversity, more gender equality in organizations helps bring about that much needed balance that didn't exist earlier.
Yeah, that's you're so right about it. The EQ is very important, and now also the SQ, which is the social quotient, which is also very high in women, which really makes a lot of difference because today life is all about networking and the relationships we make. So I think they come with very high SQ as well. And I think it also begins at home, Rajiv, because we as mothers are telling them Cinderella stories, a glass slipper story, right? So it's very important for them to understand and not bring up your children differently, first of all, for starters. And in the corporate world today, I think they're getting way more opportunity because we've laid so much emphasis on it. Therefore, it's very important to lay the same emphasis at home as well. And that's very important for everybody who's watching to know that don't bring them up any different from you would your son. Somebody
Couldn't
told me,
agree Couldn't
sorry, Raj.
agree with you more, Shals. Couldn't agree with you more. Out of the three kids that I have, I mean, I have a woman-dominated household. My mother's staying with me. My wife is here, and two daughters and one son. So you can see how we are outnumbered. So you're preaching to the choir. I'm an absolute convert. That gender equality, I think, is something very high up on the agendas of a number of us. And I'm hoping that as time goes by, that imbalance that existed for so many years would start correcting itself.
Wonderful. Rajiv, I want to tell you while we're asking this question, there's a lot of women watching you, huh? Because the amount of applauses you're getting, there's Archana, there's Sheetal, there's Shalini who's saying, can she apply for a job? So please hire her while you're online. She's one of the best people you can have. Indra Hoon is watching. She says she also compliments you. Another wonderful session, Shalini and Rajiv. And great to give women their due. I think you can read it as well. Can you? As I put it on the
I
screen, are
can.
you
Yes. Yes, I
wonderful?
can.
So there's Rishi who's agreeing with you as well. So there are some men. I'm just highlighting some comments from the men as well, so it doesn't turn out to be. I know you're on the Women on Top forum, but I have the men here, which is great as well. Okay, so my next question, Rajiv, is related to the current times, which is very, very obvious now that things have started opening up and we're all going back to work. And it's been different working from home, in this environment. But now that you have to go back to work as a leader and you have to ensure the safety, etc., of your employees. So, what are the changes that you are making within your organization to make people come back to work?
All right. So I'm going to roll this back, with your permission, Charles, a few months. Uh, I'll take you back to the middle of March when COVID suddenly erupted in everybody's faces. Uh, Amongst the major geographies, Philippines was probably the first to impose an absolute lockdown, especially Metro Manila. And very soon after, India followed, and then a number of other countries across Latin America and Asia started following suit. So it brought us to a stage where governments, countries, economies, geographies, and even life in general just got paralyzed. And we had to start defining what that new normal would look like. And so it caught us by surprise. We didn't have a playbook to refer to. This was a one-off event. Nobody, I think, can even 120 days into this journey, by any stretch of imagination, say that they had modeled for a scenario like this. So uh, this really caught us by surprise. Now, what we needed to do at that point of time was to uh, rehash our priorities. Priority number one, which was totally non negotiable, was the safety, health, welfare, and security of our employees. That was non negotiable. Uh, because countries were in lockdown, we couldn't get the workforce to come in. We had to light up a work at home solution. So, literally, we went from a cold start around the 26th or 27th of March. Uh, we set out to build an aircraft, and we didn't even know if that aircraft would ever take to the air. And it's to the credit of the team that I have globally, the kind of passion and dedication, that they brought to the table in terms of bootstrapping a very credible work at home solution so that we could go back to our clients, because at the end of the day we exist only because of our clients, and we could go back to them and say that we have a very credible work at home solution which takes care of endpoint security, and we can continue to serve your customers in turn. So it was a journey that was that I know a lot of sweat, blood, and tears has gone in, and I feel so blessed and fortunate today that I'm leading a team that is so committed, so passionate, and has brought us to the stage that we are today, which is we're able to have looked COVID in the eye from a business standpoint, and we've kept our employees safe. And as economies keep opening up, lockdown restrictions keep getting lifted in accordance with guidelines issued by the state, in accordance with the guidelines issued by WHO, especially when it comes to social distancing, etc. We will start getting people to come in. Now that's the anatomy of what brought us out here. There is a psychology also behind this, and that psychology is playing out as we speak. And that psychology has got, say, two parts to it. One is none of us is really right now in a position to say it with a great degree of confidence as to how consumer behavior is going to change, how consumer spending patterns are going to change. So I think that time will tell us. And right now, none of us is in a position to again say that this is how the workforce is going to behave and respond, because a large part of the workforce has fallen back to their towns or to their villages. Correctly so, they want to be with their loved ones, and I don't know 3 to 4 months from now or 6 months from now what that behavior would look like. But if I could predict that, I'd probably be in the business of astrology, and I'd be talking to you as an astrologer. But what I can say is that Startek is an organization I think has done the industry proud. It's done me proud. It's done our investors proud. It's done our customers proud by the way we have responded and reacted to COVID. And I have my entire teams who are based globally to thank for that.
How inspiring to hear that. This is truly inspiring because, in the current circumstances, all these things are happening, but your reaction and how you're dealing with it, super, super. I think it was just the appropriate question and the perfect answer. And I can see all the people here appreciating that. And we have our friend Anil watching from San Francisco as well. And his question is very funny. It's not addressed to you or me. His question is, how many Shalinis on this show? Anil, focus on this Shalini. There are two others I can see. You can't get over the number of Shalinis on this show. Okay, I'm going to read out a couple of things again. Work from home, the new mantra, Shalini says. Anil says, Rajiv, would love to hear where do you think the future opportunities and in Asia are and what industries?
Yeah, I think, Anil, a great question, firstly. Broadly speaking, I think every boardroom across the world was talking about, and I use the word digital as a motherhood term. It encompasses AI, machine learning, bots, robotics, desktop automation, RPA. Yeah, so I'm using it as a motherhood term. I think every boardroom was having those conversations about how important it is to adopt, a digital strategy. What COVID has, I think, brought forward is the pace at which this deployment will now happen. So, what was romantic till a certain while ago, till say 3.5, 4 months ago, is now going to become vital and essential moving forward. And I think the growth areas are going to be areas around, anything to do with technology, and we're all seeing how platform-based companies are surging ahead. So, in my opinion, I think those are the companies to put your money behind.
Great, great. So before I take you to Anil, I hope that answered your question. If there's anything else, Rajiv has a minute before I go to my favorite part of the on demand by viewers section, which I warned him off that I will have to put you on the hot seat today. I think that should do it for the question and answer from the audience. Rajiv, I want to tell you and all the audience that's watching that the reason my eyes are swollen today, that I was so excited about this conversation that I've not literally not slept all night, because I was like, oh my God, I got Rajiv on the hot seat. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, so I'm going to take you
Yeah,
to.
and purely you and me, Shals. My kids actually asked me, how much are you paying Shalini Auntie to be hosted, by her? So I think this has turned out to be a win-win.
Oh, you know what? Let me tell them all that you still owe me a car, because you remember when we would negotiate payments when you were my client, and every time you say, "Oh, don't worry about it right now, just settle for this amount, and I'll give you a car." And I'm still waiting for the car 20 years hence. So you have
The
to
day,
give it with
the
me.
day
And now,
that organization said we're not going to give her the car, that's the day I put in my papers out there.
see, and look where you are. Look where you are. So good. So kids, this is what I'm going to get after this talk, is that Maybach will be standing outside my house, because I'm going to be famous after this show. So I may as well get rich as well with that car and drive in it. The rich and famous, as they say. Okay, let me not waste any more time, because there's so many people waiting for this section. So I'm going to go to the rapid fire. Rajiv, are you ready? Let me see if I can throw you off.
Bring it on.
Okay. So rapid is rapid, huh? Let's keep it fun and one word, spontaneous ones. Early morning or late night?
Late nights going into early mornings.
Favorite food?
Anything South Indian.
Color of toothbrush?
Navy blue.
Politically correct or straight up?
Straight up.
Social media or old fashioned?
Old fashioned.
Love.
Last I checked, when I was growing up, uh, which wasn't too long ago, but the only things that tweeted were birds. And obviously, times have changed. That now you find every second individual tweeting. I'm still old school, so old fashioned for me. And
I love it. I love that. I love that. Love at first sight?
absolutely believe in it. But if she has terrible taste in men, I don't. There's no ego involved. I don't mind walking by again. But I firmly believe life is not worth living if you don't have somebody to die for. So absolute convert as far
Wow.
as love at first sight is concerned.
I'm gonna save this one in the memory bank and use it somewhere. I think that's super awesome. What is the first thing you notice about a person when you see them the first time?
Depends on which side I'm looking at them.
Ouch.
You asked, you said you have to give a straight answer. I've given you a straight answer.
Want to elaborate on that one? I can skip the rapid part of it.
Now let's continue to the next. You said we'll keep this rapid.
Okay, real life crush. Wife's watching.
Really, Shals? Okay, wait, hang on for a second. I want to show you something. Can you read this out for the audience just in case they're not able to see it? Can you
Okay,
just read it out? What does it
so
say?
I see you. Bed number 1, Rajiv Ahuja. Rajiv, can you move it up?
Yeah,
Diagnosis, domestic violence. Ouch!
yeah, yeah. So you really expect me to answer this question on a public forum? I mean, where do you think I'm headed after this?
You are too smart for me. You are too
I'm
smart.
giving this one a pass. I had a feeling you're going to try and put me
I
on the
knew
map.
it so well. You knew I was going to ask this, right? You are too smart. Okay. Favorite movie?
You're never going to believe this. Pretty Woman.
Oh, really? You know, there's
Yes.
like you travel a lot. That's not a good movie for you to say.
My
Okay,
all-time
we'll leave it at that. Favorite actress?
favorite actress. Monday through Friday, Angelina Jolie. Saturday, Sunday, Julia Roberts.
Two? Oh, one, two.
Two, because Monday through Friday, we all know Angelina Jolie's got a lot of oomph. Saturday, Sunday, Julia Roberts has got this girl next door kind of look. So you bring her back home. The mother doesn't throw a fit. The wife doesn't throw you out. So that's why, yeah, I'm splitting it up into.
I think you might have to put the ICU one more time because
I know I'm on thin ice already.
you are already. Okay, favorite male actor.
Tom Cruise and Daniel Craig.
Why were two men? Now, women, I understood. Why were two men?
I love the attitude that these two individuals display. Uh, I love the fact that Cruise takes on missions which are totally impossible, and I love the fact that Daniel thinks that this is no time to die.
Lovely. I'm missing my Casino Monte Carlo when you say that. Okay. Your perfect date, you can describe it. That means it doesn't have to be rapid. You can describe it.
My perfect date would be with my three kids, my three wonderful kids. Ragini, my oldest daughter, uh, lawyer come activist, and amongst the last socialist come communists left in the world. Then, then you have my son on the other end of the spectrum, Rishi, who's who understands fully well that he's a product of capitalism. And then you have my youngest darling, my little princess Sunana, the quintessential HR person who sits on the fence without a view and does a phenomenal job being the arbitrator between a communist come socialist and a capitalist, and then balancing out the conversation. So can't think of a better way to spend an evening.
How special is that? How special? Even though this is really special, I would have wanted you to also give me the masala, but wo aane nahi wala hai. Koi baat nahi, never mind. But you do have some really good comments coming your way, and you didn't tell me about Saif Ali Khan. Somebody knows you better in mentioning Saif Ali Khan as well. Is there something there?
No, there is something there, but yeah, I'll take that up with that individual offline.
Okay, great. So Shikha, he will take this up with you. I'm not asking it anymore. Okay, your favorite pickup line.
Shals, really? You again want me to land up in the ICU? But okay, because you wanted this to be a little wacky. Uh, it's been a long time since I practiced it, of course, but yeah, a number of years ago, I remember having walked into a party and looking this girl in the eye and saying, "I think God's granted you your first wish, so I'm here. What's your next?" And then she said, "Marry me," and I said, "All right." So 30 years later, I'm still married to her. So I haven't tried any pickup lines after that.
How sweet. So you clearly nailed it. And now you can't change your line. So you have to stick to it forever now, but don't say it again to anybody. Mum's the word now.
That is correct.
So before I go to my list, Archana has a question and we're going to add it to the rapid fire. What role do friends play in your life?
A very, very important role. I club friends with family. I don't differentiate between the two. My friends are a part of my family.
Wow, that's so special. Your daughter is also applauding you. Three things that make you happy.
Ragini, Rishi, and Sunan, I just took their names.
Three words that describe you.
I think you'd be in a better position to give the answer to that. But if I was to write my own script, it would look like dependable, good friend, and well meaning.
Yeah, I already talked about your charm, wit, and sense of humor. So I started the show with that. So I already gave the three words to you already. My
Uh,
favorite for you.
Maybe this may be the right time to talk about the good looks part of it also, Shaz. I noticed you've stayed away from that part.
And then I should roll the ICU after that.
Well said. Well said.
Okay, where would you retire?
In my mind.
You will never retire in your mind, you liar. Who inspires you?
But that's where people retire.
You will never
Body,
retire.
body gives up much later, let me tell you. You first retire in the mind. And I'm just responding to your question now. Will I retire? That's a different question. But where will I retire? It'll have to be in my mind.
So then that question is void because you're never retiring. Who inspires you?
My late father,
Is your mother listening?
I hope she is. And even if she's not, she knows it.
And your father does too, and he's listening as well. If you talked in your sleep, what would you say?
I would say, forgive her, thy Lord, for she doesn't know what she missed out on.
I mean, how am I even supposed to go ahead with this rapid fire? It just cracked me up.
You wanted to be brutally honest and straight. Well, here you are. You wanted a vanilla version. You should have told me this is Facebook Lite, and let's do a vanilla version, and I would have done it happily. You
I
do
love
know that the answers I'm giving are at grave risk to me. I could stop on my way to the ICU.
I know. Bucket list, Rajiv. Bucket list.
Okay, that's a great question, Charles. My mother keeps in good health. Check the box. Touch wood at 78. She's got more energy than an 18-year-old. Uh, my three kids turn out to be good human beings, and they learn what it's about, all about being humane. And I think I can safely check the box there. I've always liked a good home. Uh, Fortunate to have one. I've liked I've liked a good office with surrounded by some really bright and passionate minds. I am blessed to have a team that is truly world class. I always wanted a great set of friends, friends that I could count on, friends that I could depend on, friends that I could pick up the phone and talk to without any agenda. Check the box there also. That box has been checked. I wanted a great set of wheels. I checked that box. So there's only one more item left on my bucket list, which is work in progress. And and if you have the time, maybe a few years from now, you could bring me back on this show, and I would recommend you ask me that question straight up if I've been able to check that box or no. Uh, if I have, then I'll be ready to walk into the sunset. Otherwise, it'll continue to be a work in progress.
Wow, Rajiv. So you've ticked all the boxes almost. It's 99.9% done, which is amazing. I want to tell you, when I bring you back on this show, you'll have two boxes. One, of course, the walking into the sunset with whoever or whatever that you're planning. I have no idea. And the second would be that box you ticked about the car will be mine today. You might have to do it all over again. So get your act together and get ready to buy another one. Okay, this one also is a very important question, very special one for me. What's your favorite memory?
My kids, my parent, and of course my late father. The time I spent with my late father, I mean, I can't even begin to describe the kind of memories, how strong they are, and how dear they are to me.
So special. An inspirational message you would like to leave the audience with, and I would like it to be directed to the younger generation as well.
Okay, so years ago, during the dot-com boom, there was this NRI based out of the Bay Area who built and sold his company for about $200 million. Post which he relocated back to India, got in touch with his old buddies, and said, I've done well for myself. When one of his friends said, he said, listen, you may have done well for yourself by US standards, but in India, if you want to be recognized as young and rich and successful, one of the first things you need to do is to go and buy a nice big farmhouse and do it up nicely. So 3 months later, he holds a housewarming party in a very swanky farmhouse. And post the celebrations, he, with this group of 6, 7 very close friends, says, you guys gave me some advice and I took it. So what do you say? He said, the farmhouse is nice, but there are quite a few empty slots in the garage. So you need to put a few fancy cars out there. So he went and bought a Mercedes, a BMW, an Audi, a Jaguar, and again called these friends back and said, "All right, so I've got all the trappings of life." And they said, "Nah, for you to be really regarded as young and rich and successful, you also need a fad, a quirk. Every rich guy, every famous guy has this fad. So so this youngster on one of his trips a few months later, on the outskirts of London, happened to chance upon a hunt that was in progress, where these people on horseback would shoot a partridge, and a bloodhound would be released, and the bloodhound would go gently pick up the partridge by the neck, come and drop it at the master's feet. So he took a shine for that breed, acquired a pup, came back to his farmhouse, hired the best dog trainer in the city, and said, "I'll give you 3 months, unlimited money, unlimited resources. Go train the dog." 3 months later, he came back for this demonstration, and picturize this. You have the bloodhound on a leash, and a rabbit in a cage. So the trainer lets the rabbit out of the cage, releases the bloodhound, and over about, say, 100, 120 yards, just when the bloodhound is gained enough of ground to grab the rabbit jumps into a bush. And this story repeats itself 3 or 4 times, by which time this youngster has lost it, and he said, "Listen, you wasted all my time, the money, the effort, the energy. What the hell? You're a failure. Why couldn't the bloodhound get hold of the rabbit?" And the trainer went on to tell him, "Sir, the race will never be equal. One is running for your pleasure, the other is running for his life." So, my message to the youngsters is they have to choose whether they're going to be running for their pleasure their entire life, or, how do they want to approach life? Do they want to really run for their life? And if it's the former, they will be a footnote in history. If they are the latter, they will be the stuff that books will be written about. Now, as parents, as uncles and aunts, we can only counsel them, we can only guide them. Ultimately, they have to go out and choose. And at this point, my advice to them is choose, you will have to do. I just wish you choose wisely. So that's the message I would like to leave with the younger lot in this group, which basically means anybody who's below 52 would be saying, "I'm a part of that lot, the younger lot." But okay, that's my message.
Rajiv, this is what makes you who you are and makes you the leader that you are. This was just so amazing. And I think there's such a big take back for all of us, including me, because I'm also part of the younger generation. So I'm also going to make all the right choices and follow what you just said. This was absolutely amazing. I think if I asked another question, it would not. I don't think you can beat this, or don't show me that you can. This was just super amazing. I think everybody's had fun watching this show. I can see a lot of people saying Archana says awesome, Anurag says great, Winky is saying great show, Sudha says great, Sunita says great, Shalini is saying fab advice. I am going to read it out before we. Can you read some as well, Rajiv? Was missing the personal advice. Thank you. And thanks, sir. Brighten my day. Sheetal says, awesome session, Shalini and Rajiv. But I do want to tell you, when I think of Rajiv, I think of that statement by Richard Branson, which said that train your employees well enough so they can leave, but treat them so good that they don't want to. I may have got it a bit here and there, but that's what it meant. And Rajiv, you're that kind of a guy. And I'm so lucky to know you, and I'm so lucky that you're my inspiration, a role model to me. And today has been absolutely the best thing ever, and I'm going to sleep for a really long time tonight because I didn't sleep last night, and then I'm looking forward to going for a drive with you. So thank you so much for being on my show, and thank you to all the amazing people that have watched. And Rajiv, I really have to say no, but there's so many people saying lovely things. Could I quickly show it to you before we sign off and you say bye? Interesting perspective. Zara, and I know these are all people you know, and all the people probably that work with you as well. So I would like to highlight them. I think now you can say thank you to all these people that were listening to you, Rajiv.
Now, firstly, Shaz, thank you for having me on the show. I've always enjoyed interacting with you. So thank you once again. This has been delightful. Thank you to everybody who took the time out to sign in and see us engage in a conversation. Uh, Shals is available, of course, everybody knows her. Most of you have my contact coordinates also in case you want any clarification on what I just said. I'm always available. If my phone is unreachable for the next 3 days, you do know if I see you sign, I might be there. Right? Yeah, there it is. Because I did go out on a limb on a few of those questions, Shells, but I'm hoping it was worth it. But thank you once again for hosting me, and thank you everybody for taking the time out to be with us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This was a super show and a super fun show for me. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow evening with Meenakshi Dutt on makeup hacks, because I thought from art of leadership, we should go back to vanity is sanity. So we're going to do some of that tomorrow. And see you again, Rajiv. I'll see you in the Maybach later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.